Welcome back to my channel, everyone. So in this video I'll be doing the last bit, which is configuring the nav bar and creating the whole project. So just a quick recap. We saw that we were able to route to different navigations based on home and about us and contact us. And now we'll be creating a nav bar where we'll be creating a router link as per this diagram, and then we'll be focusing on this one. As of now, we went into the browser and we started selecting one of the uh, routes by typing. Like, let's say if we wanted to go for about us, then we type localhost 4200 and then about us. Then this component automatically uh, dynamically got replaced inside this router outlet. And additionally, we saw another concept of hard coding the specific component. So let's remove that from the previous video and then we'll continue with the current task. So let's go back to main component.app component.html, and we are going to remove this home component because I was just trying to demonstrate the difference between the dynamic loading and hard-coded loading. And the moment we remove that, we can go to the app component.ts and then we are going to remove it from here as well. Let's save these two files, and then we can see that the file should be loaded correctly. So we can see that there is only one home component which is coming from the router dynamic loading. Okay, so let's go back to the home component, the navbar component. Here we know that because we already have implemented bootstrap and we already have verified, so there are three different places where we need to ensure that bootstrap has been loaded successfully or configured successfully. So first is the angular.json. We see that package.json, where we see that the bootstrap has successfully been mentioned in the package. And second part, we need to ensure here as well that in style.scss, this automatically gets included the moment we use the schematic to add bootstrap. Let's save this project so that we can start modifying this further. So I'll say added bootstrap, and then let's commit it. Let's close everything and sync changes. I'm putting this in GitHub so that in future I'll show how we can start deploying this Angular website on uh, Azure portal, or we can start using Docker and all those concepts, or GitHub uh, actions and so on. So let's go back to the navigation navbar, and inside the HTML I'm going to start writing the code for Angular Bootstrap. So if we go to this website, we know that first we need to understand what kind of component we need in our navbar. There are various samples which we can go to the Bootstrap and start playing around. And the first I would like to go through is overview, and then there's first and second. There's another kind of navbar, and let's go back to active and inactive is also there. Examples. So inside examples, we see that this looks fine. I mean, we can start using these three. So we go to the code, and inside the code, I will just copy the HTML part here. I'll do some modifications here because we already have a component. Here it's all the sections which is being displayed here is hard coded, and we go to the nav basic.ts. Inside that we need to take only this part, active is equal to 1, because we already have got a component defined. So we'll be taking only this active is equal to 1, and we take this ng nav module. So let's take this one as well, ngb nav module. And another important part to remember that because these components are standalone components, so we can start importing here itself rather than having another separate module where all these components are integrated. So this we added here, and then we added here as well. So let's run this application and see how it looks like. Nothing special is happening because there's a reason for that. As we see the actual diagram which I created initially, that any component which we add, so here we have created a navbar component, but how this navbar component will integrate in our main stream of the page, because it's a standalone and it's sitting somewhere else. So we need to use the tag of this navbar component and pull it somewhere in app component. So by saying that, I mean to say that if you go to this part, we have got navbar component and this app navbar. We'll be taking this one and we'll be going to the app component.ts, app component.html, and here we are going to hard code the navbar on the top. As I explained earlier what hard coding means. So by doing that, we want that the moment page gets loaded, the navbar should always be present on the top. So this is what we are doing. But the moment we add here, inside .ts, we need to add this component as well. And name of the component is navbar component.ts. We'll be taking this one, and we go to this part, app component.ts, and then I'm gonna see how we can integrate that. So here in app.navbar component, we go to the app component.ts. Here we'll be using navbar component and press Control plus Enter. It automatically gives you a kind of IntelliSense where you know what has to be imported. So let's quickly recap. Let's save this one, and I'm gonna save this one as well. All of them are saved. So So what we have done here is that we went into this app component.html. We wanted the navbar to be appear all the time on the top, where by clicking this one, we should be able to, if we click any of the links here, which should be appearing on the app.component.html, it should start integrating these components inside the dynamic loading of router outlet. So this is what we have done here. The app component is set up here, and the router outlet is also here. And to integrate this navbar in HTML component, we imported the navbar component which we created. So this is all we have done now. Let's try running this and see what's happening. We go to this part, then we can see that in localhost we have got the navbar component coming on the top. But now the content inside that is hard coded. We need to remove that, and we need to link to the actual component inside. So we go to the navbar, and inside HTML, so let's go ahead and start modifying the bootstrap files. So what I'm gonna do is that I'll be creating my own navbar components. So I already have a code sample which I'll be putting in the GitHub as well. So in the HTML of navbar, we have got the components. We are gonna make use of the HTML. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna paste, and I'll quickly explain what it means. So here we have used the class top. We can see that all the bootstrap functionalities, the tags, we can start using. And inside the navbar, I've created 3 different links. The first one is about the home, which will be going by default. So if we see into the let's remove these two as well, because I'll be doing it from the start. And I'm gonna go ahead and save these two. So in HTML, what I've done is I went into the navbar component, and inside HTML I pasted the code. Essentially this HTML is doing that. It has got a top bar which has kind of link something on the top, and similarly we have got login and register, and here we see that we are using a specific tag here, router link. Router link, as I discussed in the first part, that it's a internal component which intercepts uh, anything which has been clicked on the navbar, and after intercepting it targets what component has to be displayed automatically. Previously we were just typing the URL ourselves, but here it will automatically be doing that part. So any link which you will be creating inside that navbar will be intercepted, and a corresponding component will be displayed in the as a part of the dynamic loading. So let's start. I'll put some CSS as well. So let's get back to the navbar CSS, and let's save this one. And we are gonna go to the local host. As we can see that, as I mentioned, that I've got two different bars which I put it into the navbar. The top bar is this one, and we can see that it's conforming to the bootstrap here. So currently what we have done is we have got navbar component. We are just focused about this part. If we go to this navbar component.html, we can see that we already have pasted the code, and then SCSS is also modified, and inside that TS we need to check one more thing here. The moment we use this router link, just remember that router link is part of your Angular module. So inside that navbar component.ts, we need to import that router link as well. So let's save this one and then save this one. Let's go back to the main page and see if everything is working. We can see that on the top it's showing about us, contact us, but the pages are not getting loaded. So we need to understand what's happening here. So we can see that after modification of HTML and SCSS, we can see that we can render the page. Just to have a quick cross check, I'll be using by default 4200. Let's run this first, and then I'm gonna do ngserve, and let's wait for the application to boot. Okay, now we can go to 4200. We can see that all the routes are working perfectly the way it should be. So let's check from the browser redirect first. So if I do 4200, we can see that the home is working. And where we got this information from, we can go to this routes.ts. Here we are saying that if 4200 the default URL is pasted, then it should be home component. And similarly, if I do about us, then it should be going into the about us, and contact us as well. Let's quickly check. So all three routes are working by typing into the URL. Now we want that as per our initial diagram, that now the navbar's link, if I click on any of those links, there should be internal mechanism which should be picking up what link has been created, and it should automatically link these components. So rather than me typing on URL, if I click on home, about us, and contact us, it should automatically start displaying here. So let's go back and start doing that part. In navbar component, if we go inside in HTML, we see that we have defined a router link. So router link is one of the properties of angular.router. So we go to the navbar component.ts, and inside import, even if you don't know what package to be included or imported, we can directly start writing as router link, and press enter. Then we can see that the router link has been automatically pulled from a package which is known as angular.router. Let's save this one. Please remember that we still have another thing which we wanted to discuss, this additional setup. I left it because I wanted to show you what error we are facing and why this additional setup is required. So let's go back and check the URL now. We can click on home, home works, about us works, and contact us works. So everything is working as expected. And let's try to change the size of, because actual implementation of bootstrap is to see how things are working if we change the scale of the window. Now you see that we started having an issue here. If we work on the desktop version, then everything is working as expected. But if we move it back to the mobile or tablet view, we see that an error started happening. So that's why we go back to the actual other implementations or uh, the actual extra additional setup. So for that, we need to include the two things in our package.json. So we go to app.package and we will be including package.json styles and scripts. Let me show it to you. So these are the additional setup which we still need to do in our angular.json. So let's go ahead and start implementing. So we go to angular.json here, and so inside the style we need to add style of bootstrap first. So if we will put a comma, and let's see one more thing. Because we are referring extra css just to feed inside this angular.json so that it can start referring into the project, we can visually see here as well. We can go to the node module, and inside that we'll be going into the bootstrap. So bootstrap, it should be in alphabetical order. Let's quickly check. Bootstrap, and inside that we have got distribution package. It's always important to remember that all the packages, if they are compiled, they are always inside the distributed section. So inside distributed section, we'll be going inside bootstrap. So we can see that bootstrap min.css. So bootstrap min.css. So this is the package which is already present. So we need to explicitly refer that package inside our package.json style. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy and paste that same location, and let's paste it here. And similarly, we have got style part is done. Let's roll back and quickly do that again. Don't save, and I'm gonna go back so that we can refer that. So angular.json, and we go to the styles section, not a style, it's styles. Inside this source.style.this, and we'll be adding this module first. Let's put comma here, and Similarly, in the scripts, there are two different scripts which you'll be adding. They are basically popper and bootstrap min.js. These are the different scripts. If you remember that in package.json, we saw that there are three different components: popper.js, and there's a bootstrap. So popper.js is also, we need to include this one. And if you want to verify where that popper.json is lying, we can go to the node module again, and inside the node module we'll be going into popper. Let's go back on the top node module. We'll have to do some scrolling here. GH. Sometimes these packages are not present, so we'll have to run again to get that done. Node module. We cannot find it, so probably we'll have to add, but we'll see first. Popper.js. Okay, we found out here, popper.js. Inside that we have got core, which is fine, and distribution, and inside that UMD, and popper min.js should be present. So we can see that popper min.js is also present. So, and inside that we can see that bootstrap is also, it should be present inside that. If we do not see anything inside, then we'll have to run this popper explicitly. This is what I faced issue while doing that, and after installing that popper.js explicitly, I was able to run this one. Okay, one more thing, it's important to remember that there are two different places which we need to modify this style.css and scripts.css. So let's quickly search, and I'll copy this whole section, and I'm gonna check styles.css and script. I'm gonna modify here as well. Style and scripts. Let's remove this comma here, and let's do a quick comparison. Style.css we have modified here, and the server was extra on this side, and style.css, let's save this one. Just to extra verify, we can quickly go to the angular.json, and then we see. So we can see that we have added at one place, and similarly we added at another place. So there are two different places we added here, 1 and 2. Okay, let's try running this one again. So I'm gonna close this terminal, and then I'll start the terminal. ng-serve. So this is the extra modification which I was talking about, additional step. So it's a kind of troubleshooting which we are doing here. So let's go back to the main stuff, home, about us, works, contact us. Let's change the size of the portal. Now we can see that everything is working as expected. So, so the reason why we did an extra modification, because we have some issue while running bootstrap in different scale. Like if we are using a mobile or tablet, then these things were causing issue. That's why we added them in our uh, this part, SCSS and angular.json. So we explicitly started mentioning that these two components should be referred in the package.json. So this is all about adding Angular Bootstrap uh, with our Angular application. So I hope you enjoyed this video. In next video, I will be talking some other topics like how we can start integrating this Angular app into Azure portal and some CI/CD pipelines so that we can publish this application on our domains rather. Thank you for watching.